office as well.
Was were the taxpayers of Illinois well served by the current treasurer's handling of the Abraham Lincoln Hotel's plan for disposition?
I believe so. I believe so, and I'm not an adamant yes because I haven't had the chance to look at obviously the portfolio, but I think that the current state treasurer, having taken over the responsibility for that and looking for an appropriate buyer for it, is in today's world perhaps the right thing to do. It's my understanding that it is still being held by the state and has not been sold, and maybe this isn't the best time to sell it to begin with.
What kind of grade would you give Judy Bartopinka as state treasurer?
I don't know, sure I want to go down the path of both. Then I go all the way back to Pat Quinn, I suppose, too, and we can go look at predecessors as well. I'd say, yeah, I would say she did a good job, and I'll tell you what, candidly, I think Alexi Giannoulis is doing a good job. So I'm not out here disparaging anyone. I guess it depends on how you define doing a good job. Is it, as was asked by Terry, as to whether it's bringing in technology and utilization of systems that are not being in place today? I think those are reasons to get points for doing a good job. Are taking current programs within the Office of State Treasurer and marketing them in an efficient and responsive way, doing a good job? I think you get points for that too. I don't think you get points, though, for going out and creating a whole bunch of brand new programs. I'm not sure that that's really beneficial, and I say that in a complimentary way to predecessors of that office. Many of them do that. Sure.
When you have areas like Governor Quinn has addressed the reforming the pension system, basically going to defined contribution versus defined benefit. Using that as one example, are those the kind of issues that you think the state treasurer should also talk about, being outspoken, should speak out on, looking down the road at where the state's going to head into fiscal problems to give the citizens a heads up? Or do you define the job more narrowly as just managing the funds as they come?
No. No. In fact, I interpret the job in a much greater sense of just being a steward of the state treasury. And because I think that's a part of what Illinois is lacking right now, is somebody to stand up there and say when something's going wrong. I mean, we don't have elected officials or politicians that are out there today looking the camera in the eye or sitting down or talking with the reporters and telling the public exactly like it is. And if there's something going wrong with regards to the pension systems and the way the General Assembly is managing it, or the stewardship that's been placed with regards to the governor's office, I think the treasurer of Illinois should stand up and say and do something about it. Now, they can use the bully pulpit, and I think that's the important thing. Pensions is one of those. And again, I'm putting on my Senate hat. I've been here before. I've talked about the whole issue about changing the pension systems. Give credit to Pat Quinn. He at least brought up the idea of a two-tiered system. I give him credit for that. But I don't know if you heard much about that before he on that stage got it out there. So I think you need elected officials that have got the responsibility, and especially as the chief financial officer of the state, to start to highlight some of the problems that have occurred. If they, whoever they are at that time, is in the majority and still decide to go down the path of what they do, I think it is incumbent upon somebody like the chief financial officer to stand up there and point out the problems and what the type of problems and concerns this will wrought in years to come. So,
why not run for Secretary of State again?
I think things are different in Illinois compared to 4 years ago when I made the decision to run for Secretary of State. The financial situation and condition that the state is in now is much, much worse than what it was. And I think that what we need to have is somebody go in there to try to help either resolve it or highlight the problems so we can bring about resolution to it. I think it's time that we bring a business person with a financial acumen into an office like that, because I think that's where the greater needs are today.
You received some criticism from the black community during the last Secretary of State.
I did?
Yeah, for the
Tell me.
For the ad where you said, talk about who's your daddy.
I'm going to be candid with you, Scott. That's the first time I've heard that. I mean it, seriously. I had not heard that before.
So if you had to do over again, would you run that type of ad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Given you talked about the bad economic state of the state and the nation. Are there any changes to the investments or where the money's going you think needs to?
And good question, thank you. I'm not prepared to stand here to say, I think that, Bright Start should not have been in the Oppenheimer Fund and, different things like that. I think that I don't want to be one of these candidates that's second-guessing some of those types of decisions. What I will tell you is, as a state treasurer, I will be sure that I have a professional, talented team of people that are skilled and schooled in investment procedures and the actuarial programs around me. That is not suggesting that perhaps this treasurer has not, nor his predecessor. Those, I realize, can be a market condition issue. So I'm careful how I'm responding to that. I'm responding as far as how the function and performance of the office will be and the type of treasurer I will be.
Where are you investing your own money these days? It's pretty rocky stock market.
If you look at my percentage, I'm probably personally, I believe, probably 50 to 60% in bonds now and the other in stock. I believe that's where it's at. But I haven't got it's a very small pie, if that's what you're talking. To look at the wedgie of the pie, how it's cut up, it's a small pie. I'm sorry, Scott.
Would you consider yourself an aggressive investor or conservative investor?
I used to be an aggressive investor when I was much younger. As I became more mature, I became a little less aggressive, and I'm probably a respondent like many in the market have become, is when things started to slide when they did. The wedgie on my pie shifted more to bonds as opposed to stocks. So I want to thank you seriously for taking some time to stop by with me today. Thank you. Thanks, John.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois. If you have any comments or questions on our programming, please email us at illinoischannel@aol.com. Or if you have any questions about the Illinois Channel, please visit our website at www.illinoischannel.org.